is taking over the Taiga, Operation Pipeline 2.0. Russian troops have moved into the rear of the Ukrainian armed forces in the Sumy region. A united Russia member called Putin a loser. New Ukrainian air defense systems. A drone wall. Lenin will be removed from the mausoleum. They're preparing a place for Putin. The Russian Orthodox Church wants to ask God when the so-called special military operation will end. Hello everyone, this is Karina Klishun and you're watching the program Vi Trende. I've gathered a lot of interesting news for you. Believe me, we'll have plenty to discuss today, so let's get started. It's been a while since Russians died in a pipeline.
Well, that's it. You're done for.
And here we go again. The occupiers once again tried to crawl through the pipes in the Sumy region using a gas pipeline. They tried to infiltrate behind Ukrainian military lines, but it didn't work out. The Ukrainian armed forces knew where to intercept them, and part of the Russian sabotage and reconnaissance group was eliminated. The rest are still struggling, clinging to life. Russian war correspondents are already outraged.
The Ukrainian armed forces were waiting for them and opened fire, almost as soon as the first head appeared out of the tunnels. Half of the guys were killed. Hello, wake up! The pipe team was working while it was new. It worked a couple of times, but even then, there are still a lot of questions about Sudjanskaya. But you're not idiots either.
The operation in Sudzha was so praised by propaganda that they themselves believed in the genius of their actions. Now they're getting what they deserve. Back in the summer, the occupiers' plans became known. They wanted to use the pipes to get behind the Ukrainian armed forces in different regions. But for some reason, they thought our defenders wouldn't suspect anything. And by the way, it's the Russians' overconfidence that's ruining them. For example, in Donetsk region, a Russian soldier wanted to film his comrade's heroic deed, but it didn't work out.
Let's go. Come on. Mountains. He's moving. He's moving.
Yeah, Greenwich didn't get very far. They clearly have some kind of mismatch with the pipes, not just at the front, but in the rear as well. The CEO of Rosvodokanal got a year and a half in prison for disclosing state secrets.
All right, I'll tell you, but not a word to anyone. I swear.
And as it turned out, even such obvious information as the fact that the pipes in Russian cities are rotten is considered a state secret. Pipes? Evgeny Yurkin warned in the annual report, saying that the war and sanctions are making it difficult to purchase water purification systems for the pipes, which affects the quality of the water supply. He even wrote about it in his Telegram channel.
The enemies have learned information about the rotten pipes.
The FSB decided that this is classified information about critically important infrastructure, which means the official is working against the state. So, off to the penal colony with him. Either the FSB guys needed to meet their monthly quotas, or they've really lost their minds. It's still unclear. Friends, what do you think about this? Share your opinion in the comments. You know, I'm always here and I read everything. And of course, I reply to you. So I'll be waiting for you there. And don't forget to like this video. This small action from you is a big support for the entire V-Trend team. And while Russians are trying to crawl through pipes, Ukrainian soldiers have come up with a way to fight against Russian Kabis and UAVs by using a wall of drones. According to Business Insider journalists, Ukraine is preparing to deploy an entirely new type of air defense, a wall of unmanned aerial vehicles. This is not a classic system, but rather an aerial minefield made up of dozens of mini-drones with low-charge batteries capable of intercepting drones and guided bombs even without GPS. The idea is that after receiving a radar signal, the system forms a dense curtain in the air at an altitude of several thousand meters. The drones themselves operate on a friend or foe principle, and artificial intelligence changes the structure of the wall in real time to counter specific threats. Moreover, successful tests have already been conducted. Ukrainian soldiers have also demonstrated how they fight against enemy drones. To shoot them down accurately, it turns out that a handheld net launcher works well on the front lines. Here's how it works. just quickly, and the cartridges can also be replaced just as fast. Well, they never cease to amaze me. I know that many of you are watching us from outside Ukraine, and I'm curious, which country are you watching this video from? I know there are a lot of people here from Europe and even from Russia. Do you support the Russian Federation, or are you one of the reasonable ones? Write in the comments. I'd be interested to know where you're watching from and your opinion on what's happening. Hello, Oryol. How are things over there? Locals heard dozens of explosions during the night. One of the drones was shot down right above people's homes, so the locals witnessed quite a fire show. Or maybe it wasn't a drone. Naturally, a fire broke out, damaging both houses and parked cars. After these kinds of raids, more and more Russians are stopping watching TV, and more are losing respect for Putin. Even deputies from United Russia. But how lucky it is that Putin doesn't have the internet. Maybe you remember this character? Yulia Trukmanova. She was also a member of the city council of the town of Marks in the Saratov region. Back in 2023, her phone conversation was leaked online, in which she shared her thoughts about Putin. In it, she said that Putin is a nobody and a loser.
Voucher.
Yes, that's actually in fact the process of legalization of a basic...
Core of collateral shares.
Yes, is... All of this happened in constructive situations. And it wasn't Putin who came up with it. It was invented by others. He was a nobody and nobody cared about him.
He sang. What
did he sing about?
Governor?
He carried a diplomat case and poured coffee. Exactly, a total loser.
No, back then a governor meant real power.
Come on, he was a nobody, just bought his way in. And then it just shut off!
Of course, she was expelled from the party back in 23. But again, Putin doesn't have the internet. He never found out. So to this day, she's doing just fine, even runs a clinic called the Dr. Trukmanov Pediatric Clinic. Recently, she reported that she had developed a project called Comprehensive Support for SPU Participants and Their Families. And this project made it to the finals of the National We Are Together Award. Now, she will present her idea at the Kremlin before a jury made up of people close to Putin. And why is this lady doing so well after making such statements? That's because after the scandal, she made a show of voting for Putin, pretended to respect him, and started playing along with the propaganda. That's how it is in Russia. First, you can mess up, but the main thing is to apologize the right way afterward.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism, and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine today. Join us now.
Putin is getting nervous. He wanted the capture of Donbas to happen faster. Back at the end of October, the bunker dweller was already claiming that Pokrovsk was being blockaded. But as we can see, Gerasimov deceived him because the city hasn't been fully captured. Since then,
almost 2 weeks have passed and nothing has changed drastically. It's unlikely that the military lied to the president in their triumphant reports. But they also can't explain such slow progress. The president is somewhat concerned about the situation, said the channel's source, and added the DNR is not just Krasnoarmysk. Vladimir Vladimirovich would like the military to speed things up.
By the way, the Polish Foreign Minister Sikorsky managed to successfully humiliate Putin over Donbas, stating that Putin has shown weak results.
Putin has shown weak results. We thought he had the second strongest army in the world, and he himself believed it would be a walk in the park, a 3-day operation. More than 10 years have passed, and he's still fighting in Donbas. I wouldn't call that a victory.
But for Putin, this is a victory. After all, nobody wants to fall flat on their face. That's why the propaganda keeps working. But what's interesting is that even Putin himself isn't confident in his own strength. And that's why, according to Russian media, Patriarch Kirill was tasked with finding out when and how this special military operation will end. Supposedly, he should ask the saints about it.
The Patriarch was instructed to pray and ask the saints, especially ours, the Russian ones. How much longer can this special operation go on? And how will it all end? To some, such a task might seem strange, but that's only to non-believers. Believers know that God himself, along with his saints, is supposed to fight for Russia. And who else but the head of the church could they tell when and how it might all end?
I've always wondered why they're so sure that God is fighting, and why specifically for Russia. Have they completely lost their minds? But that's not all the oddities coming out of Russia. Lenin needs to be removed and a place prepared for Putin. That's exactly the idea Alexander Dugin presented to Putin. After all, he believes they need to hurry because Putin's burial place should already be prepared. But at the same time, he insists that he believes in the dictator's longevity. I
Already at the beginning of the year called for Lenin to be removed from the mausoleum and for a place to be created there. For the future burial of the true emperor of Russia, President Putin. A lot of time has passed and nothing has been done yet. Lenin's body needs to be removed urgently. I have once again made this appeal to the Kremlin, personally to the president.
Well, making such an appeal to Putin, who wants to live forever, is very unreasonable. But interestingly, the Kremlin is already studying the issue of removing Lenin's body from the mausoleum. But it's not about Dugin here, because burying the Soviet leader in a secret place. Thank you. This was already called for by the late Ilya, the spiritual advisor to Patriarch Kirill, in his deathbed message to Putin. I believe that a place for Putin will become available quickly, just as quickly as Putin himself will be placed in the mausoleum. Women in Russia are so tough that they love listening to chansons. But sometimes this is dangerous for those around them. In Samara, a taxi passenger threatened the driver with a machete because there was no chanson playing in the car.
I'm telling you, honestly, I really mean it, seriously.
I like music. All right, I get it. I'm turning it off.
Could you please turn on the device for me now? Chanson!
Why are you, if I may ask?
Talking nonsense, spouting garbage for no reason!
And in the city of Belovo, a woman decided to draw attention to the disastrous state of the housing and utilities infrastructure in a very original way. In the basement of a building that was flooded due to a burst pipe. But
that's none of my business. I've done my part.
The woman brought in some carp and started streaming from there.
Drink it if you want, do your laundry if you want. You could even pass a fitness test here.
It's original, but the housing and utilities representatives haven't responded yet. Putin is convinced he owns the whole world, but he hasn't noticed how China owns him. The Russian Taiga is no longer Russian at all.
Stop. Yeah. Well, the train is never less than 56 cars long. There you go. It smells like wood now. So fresh, so incredibly fresh. Farewell, my beloved Taiga, my beautiful homeland. You are leaving, departing for China forever. I will always remember you, my Taiga, my home, as you journey away, never to return. Farewell, farewell, dear friend.